Rainbow Six Siege is a worldwide phenomenon, played by over 50 million people and heading into its 5th year with even bigger and bolder plans. It's easy to think that it was always destined to succeed, but every game has those moments, those key decisions that can either make it or break it. And with Siege, breaking it is where it all began.
When this iteration of Siege started, it started with Xavier Marquis working with a team that was making the destruction engine. So the only prototype they had was a prototype of destruction. So the first premise of making Siege was built around destruction. I think we would have cut everything but the destruction.
Level design wanted to have half of this wall destructible, half of this wall non-destructible. So people were really confused, artists were really confused on how do I make this realistic, how do I make this believable.
In terms of tech, like, because you want destruction, but you want to be competitive, especially on consoles, so you want to still maintain the 60 FPS. Usually those two things are mutually exclusive. But in Siege, we're like, hey, you know what, we want both.
So there's a lot of constraints that stacked up. I don't remember any moment where we felt like destruction would be impossible, but there were a lot of just, gauging how much can we do this.
The first tournament at Ubisoft, I think it was the first tournament at Ubisoft ever, when we realized that one bullet was making one hole and you could get shot or kill someone from an unseen place. It was perfect. Destruction brought a lot to the game. It made the game, in fact.
One of the other difficulties was to find the right balance between how much you can destruct versus how much we enforce given level design. I think this is where a lot of other people, it was difficult for them because of the talented level design team that we have. They managed to find the right balance, that you still have the map, you still have level design, but there's still this feel of infinite combination, like year after year, you still find new line of sight, a new way to approach a site.
Sledge, Caveira, Ash, Thermite. These names are synonymous with Rainbow Six Siege, but these unique operators weren't always intertwined with the game's DNA.
So they had some internal tournaments, and they had a lot of tournaments. Since those tournaments were open to anyone in Montreal, I participated, even though I was on For Honor. But at that time, it was a class system. And I remember the day they took the decision to move from a class system to a unique peak operator system. A lot of core shooter people were like, this is crazy, like this is the worst decision ever. What is this game? A shooter where I can't choose my weapon, like people like really didn't understood.
It took a lot of time and convincing too. It took prototyping for sure, and even like that, it was difficult because I think the whole concept of having operators or heroes only starts showing its potential when you have enough of them for the whole choice thing to start being meaningful.
So Xavier Marquis came with the idea of having operator day. He wanted everyone on the team to contribute. So I gathered all level designer in a room and split them in a team, and they had to come up with 3 different operators. Which one I remember, like there was an architect on the team. He designed the first iteration of Castle, like how to reinforce doors, how to reinforce windows and everything.
I think that's the strength of this idea. It's not just a gameplay thing. It is for sure a gameplay thing first, but it's also like this whole universe potential behind it is immense. Like the amount of fan love that we get around operators is pretty cool.
The ideas that I had, it was the negotiator. He speaks in a speakerphone and he says, think of your mama, and everybody starts crying. So like they don't see it. So like to me this was the kind of operators I would see. But no, now they're way better than that idea.
I like that. Rainbow Six is a franchise built on taut action and tense combat encounters, which, historically, have played out in single-player campaigns. For Rainbow Six Siege, creative director Xavier Marquis wanted to write a different story.
Yeah, Xavier decided to go to the HQ and like present a project that was completely multiplayer focused, and I think it was scary for lots of us.
All the prior were all narrative driven. Focusing on PvP was really stressful, even for Ubisoft game. Like there was no game at that time, if I recall, that were only PvP driven from Ubisoft. So having this was a huge guts move from the team.
So I think this was kind of scary for a lot of us. We had doubts of, okay, is this actually gonna fly by? Like, are we gonna get validated or just gonna get killed because of that? So it was scary. It's not just convincing the people at HQ. It's like so many actors that revolve around the game production. Like you have every people around business and marketing, people who are used to sell games a certain way. It's not easy. Like for sure, it's convincing all of these people that this is a good way to, like this is a good strategy for this game. It was very, very clear that we were making choices. And I like that. I like having the courage of making choices.
The full effort of the team was concentrated on the PvP. Not having to develop AI or characters behind or even support a narrative throughout the layout. It was super important to help us release great content, strong content.
Do you ever think of how easy it would be for Rainbow Six Siege to be a completely different game? One word, respawn, could fundamentally alter the game as we know it, and it almost did.
I know someone at Ubisoft with a very high creative position who said, oh, this is the first thing that's going to get cut when this is playtested at HQ. The first thing that they're going to cut is this one. And I'm really happy that he was wrong, but it gives an idea of how people felt about it. Like it felt like something that would never pass the gates, would never be validated. When we started playing with no respawn, the way that people moved, looked around them, like listened to what was happening, everything changed immediately. We could see that the relation we had with our character and our surrounding was completely different.
The moment where you start to hear the explosion, everything shake, and it's insane. I had a feel of, okay, I'm in a movie. You know, like I feel this moment of, oh shit, everything, and the tension was insane. And I was like, if I knew that I were able to respond, I would probably have just, sprint around, exploring the map, maybe get shot, but I don't care, I come back and stuff like that. Where here, I have just one life. You know, like it's matter, it creates instantly the tension that they were searching for. Super decision. We have new people that come, want to say like, well, we love Siege, but we want to make it even bigger and stuff like that. The first element that come back is that, okay, we should have respawn. Because then you will see it's easier for newcomer, it will be appealing for more people and stuff like that. And every time we have to go back and explain why it's a fake good idea. You see what I mean? Like, because yes, clearly, and I won't deny that, games with respawn are more accessible by nature. It's maybe more appealing, less scary and stuff like that, but also the taste and the experience that you have is not with the same intensity, so you don't come back as you come back on Siege.